ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all to ET Retail's Future of Fashion panel discussion presented by Fashmates. The theme for this discussion is revamping the fashion industry with CX trends and technology. Amid this age of evolution, there are some pertinent questions, answers to which will shape the fashion market in India. What is the future of fashion? How retail brands are revamping the fashion industry with new age CX trends and technology? Is hyper personalization the next big thing in fashion? How are new age technologies helping brands go closer to consumers? Why are fashion influencers the retailers of 2022? How are fashion retailers enhancing consumers' shopping experience? We'll get answers to all these questions and beyond in today's discussion. We are joined by the faces of the Indian fashion retail industry, fashion influencers, technology solution providers, and industry experts. Ladies and gentlemen, you can drop your session-related questions in the chat box. Our moderator will take your questions at the end of the discussion. Now, let's begin the discussion. I would like to invite our moderator, Amit Manna, partner, business consulting, KPMG Mumbai. It's my pleasure to invite the panelists for this discussion. Harish Ramchandani, founder and CEO of Fashmates, Vinay Chatlani, MD and CEO Soch, Akhil Duggar Jain, Executive Director, Jain Amar, Devagi Nishar, Director, Aza Fashions, Isha Amin, founder, Isha Amin Label, and the Style Elevator. Welcome, everyone. Now I hand it over to Mr. Manna. Over to you.
Thanks a lot. Session overall, talking to stalwarts in the fashion industry, about how things are shaping up. So, Devangi, I will start with you and then move to the rest of the panelists. So, Devangi, you have been at the, absolute, Aza Fashion is a very reputed name. So what do you think are the recent trends, which are kind of reshaping fashion industry? Because we have seen 2 years of COVID, lot of innovations by brands to stay afloat and stuff. So how do you think, has things changed in the last 2 years? How are people relooking at fashion? So it would be interesting to hear from you, Devangi.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for your kind words. So this has been a very interesting 2 years. I think people have had a long time to introspect and to really think about, what they want from themselves, what they want from life. So now it's extremely important for brands and retailers not to do hard selling. Storytelling and actually connecting with customers is actually extremely important now. So people actually want to know, why has your brand been founded? What was the basis upon which it was founded? What is your mission? And at every single touch point where you connect with the brand, this messaging needs to be prevalent. So the customer may write a comment just in a social, like on an Instagram post, or they might send you a direct message on Facebook, or they might send you a WhatsApp. So whichever avenue or platform the customer uses to connect with a brand or a retailer, it's very important for the retailer to genuinely connect with the customer back and to behave as if you are a human being, because they think of you as a personality, as a persona. So it's really important to have that deep-seated understanding of what exactly your brand is and keep communicating that with the customer, because they care about what these brands really mean and they are making very cognizant decisions based on that understanding.
Excellent. I think that's very relevant, Devangi. So Isha, you are, it's a very different zone which you represent, the absolute, celebrity zone and stuff. So, do you see, say, for example, within fashion, e-commerce shaping up in a, big way? Because I think Devangi also touched upon it in a way. So it would be interesting to hear from you, Isha, that how is e-commerce, you think, reshaping fashion industry, or the fashion industry stays what it was, say, 2 years back? Devangi mentioned some very interesting points around, connecting with each customer, be it via WhatsApp, Insta, whatever, and, kind of associate with them as if you are associating in a store, So it will be interesting to hear from you, Isha, on what are your thoughts on e-commerce shaping up the, fashion industry and its relevance in the current context.
I feel it's very safe today at this stage to say that, e-commerce is just getting more and more promising. It's changing, improving, upgrading, with technology, companies trying to just win a bigger share of the market to themselves. I think it's just getting more and more interesting, and how easy it is, for e-commerce. The expenses of running an e-com business are far lesser than having a traditional brick and mortar kind of a business. I feel like e-commerce has a much bigger reach in all ways. I completely agree with Devangi that whichever mode of reaching out does the client use, be it Facebook, so Instagram or whatever, it's very important to reach out to the client back, because this is internet and e-com have become probably one of the most important avenues of reaching out to that internet audience, which is constantly out there, available, trying to shop through various brands which are not easily physically available at stores. I think it's e-commerce has just taken shopping to another level, and it's just getting better and better.
Great start, Isha. Over to you, Akhil. I think you are part of a brand which is now a legacy. Quite sometime affordable fast fashion. Want to understand from you your views on how is the fashion industry reshaping after 2 years of I think turmoil, I would say, because it had been very tough, because it's not part of the essentials category and stuff that it will remain open. So how do you think people have innovated? What are some of the new trends which you see, whether just not be for your brand, but maybe overall at a fashion industry level? Akhil, I would like to hear from you.
Yeah. Hi, morning. So what's happened? So once the pandemic set in 2020, all of a sudden, everybody went back home, and we had a severe time of lockdown. And all of a sudden, as brands, we innovated and industry innovated to a lot of comfy collection. Loungewear set in, loungewear and night shoes became a bigger category within the fashion brands. A lot of departmental stores which were online, like shopperstop.com, for example. So they started creating a lot of big bouquet of brands selling only their comfy wear and comfort wear, and this trend continued till 2021. And all of a sudden, what we see today is that a season has been skipped, and people are back to fashion now. So as far as how the tech is concerned with brands like us, so obviously we have been very offline heavy players from the very beginning, and for us, e-commerce started with a very smaller chunk of business. And then the first was the marketplaces, that was the first point of sales for us. And then came the D2C, where everybody wanted to build their own websites and their own brands. The essential part of building your own D2C, as Devangi was mentioning before, was about the customer experience. So in marketplaces, what was happening, you were actually getting those sales and tractions, because obviously the large number of pin codes that those large portals are managing, and probably for brick and mortar people or for brands like us individually, managing 20,000 pin codes is a big challenge. So what happened? So your sales were set, but then it was all about discounts and promotions and deals and everything. And kind of the brand's legacy or the brand's ethos was getting diluted, because if you're there at e-commerce, I mean, if you're not there, you're losing a big chunk of sale. If you're there, you're losing your legacy. So then the brands came up with a concept of D2C, wherein the first aim is to transfer your existing brick and mortar offline customer database onto your own D2C platform, and then build on further to omni-channel capabilities.
So that's interesting, Akhil. What you are saying is, in a way, people have started focusing on their own D2C. Correct. Because marketplace obviously gives you a top line, but that customer experience element is probably missing, which is that one-to-one touch with the brand. Very interesting. Probably we'll take it up, later as we go along. Over to you, Harish. So San Francisco, and how is it different from India? So are the trends there different, or you see similarities in the reshaping part of it, say in Europe and US? versus what you see, hear a lot in India. So interesting to hear from you, Harish, your views.
Yeah, you're great. Thank you, Amit. Thanks for having me, first of all. So at Fashmates, we work with over 1,000 brands and retailers around the globe, including India. Indian Terrain is one of our clients, by the way. And we also have 500,000 fashion stylists on our platform, including influencers, celebrity stylists from the US, from UK, from India as well. So we get the both sides of story. We get the brands as well as consumer side of it. So what we have seen is, if I summarize the trends, I can think about 4 different themes. One is that shift in the consumer behavior, something that Devangi was talking about, the relationship-based commerce versus transaction-based commerce. We're also seeing the comfort and convenience anytime, anywhere type of trends. Like that includes search versus discovery. That means is, if I explain that in a second, search is something that when you really know what you want. So you can go onto Amazon.com and search on Bluetooth speakers, you'll get 10 products. But if you go search on red dress, you will see thousands of products. And you don't know which one is good for you and not, right? So that's where the discovery element comes in the fashion. You don't really know what you want. So we are seeing a lot of brands adopting to the discovery model versus search model and personalizing those guided discovery experiences. We are also seeing the look-based commerce, which are like styling, because when you're buying a product, you are not buying that product standalone. You want to fit that or match with something else in your wardrobe. It's about a look. It's about a style, right? So mixing and matching different products together. It's funny that Target, which is one of the large brands here, recently launched that look-based commerce as well. And we are seeing that trend like Nordstrom, Gap, Macy's, all of that. And we are at the forefront of that as Fashmates. In terms of the relationship-based, dynamic feedback from the customers, advising, coaching, styling services, that's a theme number 1. Theme number 2 is more about the innovative business models and channels. So, e-com has improved from 25% to 40% of categories are online now due to COVID. And we see that omnichannel, offline, ship to store type of models are happening. You can buy online, but should get it, delivered via store. And there's rental models and resale models, buy now, pay later models that we are seeing. But what is interesting because of COVID that has accelerated is the subscription boxes. So these brands and retailers are sending a box full of 5 or 6 items at the doorstep of the consumer side of it. And so they can try at home. It's based on their style. The third theme is about the advanced technologies, so like data sciences, AI, ML, shoppable images, AR, VR for the virtual fitting, and eventually metaverse. A lot of investments like Adidas and Nike are making some investments in the metaverse also. And lastly, about the sustainability and environmental social concerns.
I think, Harish, you touched upon a lot of points, and those will be interesting discussions going forward. So, Vinay, you head Soch, which is a style statement in the Indian ethnic wear segment. So, how have you seen, Vinay, the fashion industry reshaping in the last 2 years, and anything specific you have seen even within the Indian ethnic wear, segment, which kind of Soch is known for?
Yeah, so thank you for having me on, Amit. I'm also from an offline first background. In addition to that, Soch being predominantly positioned around evening occasion wear. Historically, there's always been a need for, touch, feel, try on the piece. A lot of alterations happen at the store and things like that. And while we did see a significant shift towards more functional casual clothing during the lockdown periods, we started to see people willing to buy heavier pieces, more expensive pieces online as well. I think out of lack of choice, they would do that, and we've seen that continue even after the stores have opened. So that's been an interesting insight that we've noticed. In terms of how it's redefining there's a lot of web rooming and showrooming that happens. For us, predominantly web rooming. So discovery happens online, whether that's on social media platforms, whether that's on your own captive site. There's a lot of discovery happening online, and then people tend to come to stores to then pick up that product. Again, because we do sell heavy stuff, and a lot of them would like to come to the store, before doing the purchase. So the idea for us is, how do we take some of the advantages of the online space and bring it offline, and vice versa, right? So, for example, the convenience that you have online is very difficult to kind of emulate offline. But we do have omni-channel platforms. We are rolling out a consumer-facing digital catalog, which will essentially help the consumers discover what you have across the chain and not just in the store. But the catalog is also going to act as an assistant for my sales assistants as well, because it makes it easier for them to filter by preferences and things like that, and then present to the customer, all while she can still browse on her own. So that's one thing that we're trying to bring to the stores. What we would like to bring online on the other side is, can I better inform you on fits and cuts and sizes? And there's a lot of tools on that, thankfully, where it's just plug and play, and people can get a sense. Amazon does this really well, because you usually have multiple buys happening if you're fairly loyal to a website, and therefore it does a recommendation engine based even between brands to see what would fit you in this brand. So they do a good job on that. But if we can visually represent that to consumers, I think for products like ethnic wear, that's very important. So the tech roadmap for us is pretty extensive. We do have a format of offline stores, which is actually going to be more of an index shopping kind of store. So I will have some amount of depth. For the most part, it's showing you the range. You're physically seeing it. You can also browse on the tabs, but predominantly it's going to be order based. And these are smaller kiosks, which ideally would help you also test out certain geographic regions where you may not have been present before. For us, it's really a merger of bringing the two together, and you have to do it based on where the consumer is. I don't think you have a choice to stick where you are. If you're not going to go where the consumer is going, then you're losing out. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you, Vinay. Totally. It's the consumer story is becoming much more important, post COVID. And whether you are offline, whether you are online, or whether you are omni-channel, you need to be, as I think Devangi also mentioned, that you have to look at customer by customer. Probably that's the need of the hour. So on to you, Devangi. Carrying on from what some very interesting points you raised in your initial conversation. How do you think as you see even the apparel ecosystem, fashion ecosystem, how do you think people are kind of leveraging technology? Some could be learnings from the last 2 years, some could be stuff which people had already thought about. So what are some innovations happening in technology to either, as we talked about customer centricity, so how is technology enabling customer centricity as you see in your own brand? What are some stuff which you have done, or certain things which you see globally and you would like to replicate? Thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. I think technology is definitely at the forefront of everything that brands should be doing now going forward. I think in this day and age, it's no longer an option to be only brick and mortar. Omni-channel is pretty much the only solution or way forward, or of course digital first brands which choose not to be physically present. But in terms of technology specifically, I think some of the points which other speakers have made are very relevant. One, of course, is discoverability, right? So, for example, we have more than 100,000 products on our website. But as even Akhil mentioned, customers may not know what they want. So they need to go through this entire process of discovery where they can imagine themselves in this garment. They can really think about what it is that they need. And a lot of the clothes that we sell are occasion wear, for example, right? So we really need to depict it in a way that they will fully understand the product. Because the price points are higher. So they really need to understand what is the material, what is the embroidery, what is the work, who is this designer, all these sort of levels of understanding a product. So here, I think augmented reality is something that could really come into play, where you can sort of try it on virtually. So we have this for jewelry, for example. We've tested it out a little bit, but for clothing, I think it could be very relevant, right? How will I look in this lehenga, or how will I look in this kurta set? So that's one. Another, of course, is personalization. So depending on where I am physically, I may have different preferences and desires. So we have a lot of customers from outside India. So the US shopping behavior is very different from the way that customers sitting in, say, Bhubaneswar or Gujarat may be shopping, right? So personalization is extremely critical. When I open the website, what are the products that I see versus what are the products that you see, based on, the website's understanding of consumer patterns. So here, I think machine learning really comes into play. And then from a fun angle, I think a lot of brands are experimenting, of course, with things like gamification and the metaverse and NFTs and things like that. But I don't think it's fully flushed out in terms of what is the benefit to the customer. It's sort of still experimental in terms of the stage where it's at.
No, that's interesting. I think that's well said, Devangi. I think needless to say that, progressing on technology is becoming very important. And I think even Akhil mentioned about it, that should I use AI, ML? I think, the fit, even, so if there is discovery, but how do I understand my fit? Can I make the entire shopping online, or have I to visit the store also for checking after having done the discovery? So a lot of interesting elements which I think retailers have to grapple with, trying to understand the customer nuances and stuff. Over to you, Isha. Would you like to throw some light on this topic of how is technology shaping fashion industry? Anything that you see in your ecosystem? Since you kind of deal with the absolute top echelon and stuff, what are they saying? How is your kind of entire venture kind of reorienting towards technology? Any comments on that?
So, in our case, most often, we don't end up going to the stores and physically looking at the product, because we are very short deadline when we're styling a client, or shopping for someone, or styling a slip for a or a promotion. It's highly possible to visit so many design stores within that 1 or 2 days. So we definitely use technology. We definitely go through various websites of various designers. So I think the use of AI, these websites, where it kind of just helps us to visualize on how this product would look on a certain time. In detail, images of that product, what the back side fabric is it. So all of these elements, does help in making a fast decision on whether yes, this works or not work for us. And the technology has kind of made things a lot more easier and accessible to us, because a lot of times today we're but most of our Bollywood actresses are looking at wearing international, say, design, which are not physically accessible for events, for promotions. So we are constantly in with design available here. It has only been possible through the success of these brands, via social media, via corporate, been able to visualize and make them happen here for our, because a lot of times, if these kind of details are not told to us, like say a certain pantsuit looks like it is in a suiting material, but actually it's actually say a velvet, and it doesn't show through properly in pictures. So I feel like having in detailed images of videos of the product kind of makes it easier for us, because imagine if we have to invest in shipping something from internationally to India, going through the whole custom process, and then it turns out to be that the product is something that doesn't fit for our weather, our kind of event or promotion, that it's a complete waste, right? So I definitely do feel that digital shopping and like in-depth detail of making it so easier for all of us has just made it so interestingly has just helped our business in so many ways.
That's great, Isha. Over to you, Harish. In fact, I will kind of, obviously the overall question which we are asking is around technology, but there are some interesting questions around that I can see from audience coming. So maybe I'll club it, instead of trying to address it towards the end. One is, I think, coming in from even what Isha said, the emergence of video commerce, so that's one thing the audience wants to understand better, in terms of, that China and some other countries have gone a long way with respect to video commerce. And second, with respect to technology, what people want to understand is, how is AR, VR really helping? Is it more of, people talking AR, VR, or is it really seeing, uplift in sales, uplift in customer experience? Your views, Harish?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So in terms of the shoppable images and videos, I think that is there now with TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube itself. There's a lot of talks about getting the commerce as part of that experiences that people are doing with the video. Like if I'm watching a video, I like an outfit of, let's say, Aishwarya Rai, I want to buy that, right? So how do I buy that? So the YouTube has experimented something like that. TikTok is in the process of doing it. Instagram is already doing it. So it's already happening. The scale is not there yet, but that will happen very soon. And with India, I think it will also follow that process because the consumption of the video in India is much larger than any other country right now, with the population and the devices availability. In terms of the AR and VR, yes, those are not fully fledged yet. I would say the use cases that we see there are more like virtual fitting and getting an idea about how does this look on me. So like I was talking about the style outfit versus a product, right? So product is something you cannot try on. You can see, but the product goes with the context of another product. Like this top goes well with this bottom, this accessories, this jewelry, beauty products and all that. And that's where on our platform on Fashmates, when we see the usage where almost every minute a new look is being created on our platform, there we see a lot of combination of different products and people are demanding that virtual try-on as the feature for us. And so we're getting that customer feedback because they're seeing a look and then they want to press a button and see how does it look on me. And there have been some partnership conversations that we have been having to bring that feature on because the consumer wanted. And over time, you will see as technologies becomes more advanced, this trend will continue.
So Harish, adding onto it, I think there was a mention, I think by Isha only, about, fine, we have AR and VR, there are magic mirrors and stuff, which helps you, and even videos which help you see how you look in a garment. But what about the texture? I think Isha mentioned about, suppose I am wearing a velvet suit, maybe I would like to come to the store to see the actual feel. I do not get to understand on a virtual platform whether it is worth the money I am paying. So anything around technology you have seen emerging in that space, which makes the real fabric worth the look on a virtual platform as compared to, say, the store?
Yeah, so we have been seeing some computer vision technologies coming on board. So if you can see a product, for example, a physical product, you can take a picture and it will go pixel by pixel and basically read the image. And what we have seen is that like if it is a leather, there's certain kind of shine in that leather, right? If it is fur, it's a different kind of texture. The fabric is different. So we are seeing some technologies from the CV perspective, computer vision perspective, which behind the scene uses machine learning and data for product attributes and all that, a lot of training around it. But those models are coming up as well, because it's a valid point. Even the color itself, if you look at a color on screen versus a color of that same item physically, sometimes may be different as well. So the detection around that, object detection, the technologies that are being developed right now, I wouldn't say they're at the full scale at this point of time, but they will at some point.
Okay, nice. So, Akhil, I think, the discussion is becoming interesting, with us delving into technology much more deeper. So what's that you see? For example, you are a, brand which has really stood the test of time and stuff. So how have you people been leveraging technology? What are some of your comments on, certain interesting facts which Devangi, Harish and Isha brought about? So over to you.
Yeah, thanks. So being in the fast fashion genre, so we have the luxury of, people experimenting a lot with the product, because the price points are not as high as it would have been in ethnic wear, and, the kind of textures, and being a Pret-a-Porter brand, the size, the fits, it's all accustomed being in the market for, say, more than 3 decades with the same brand. So obviously when this technology piece, was supposed to be, bridged to the offline brick and mortar stores. So the first thing we tried was the virtual try-on mirrors, the magic mirrors, as you call it. So initially, it was a very exciting piece, but to be true, it never really helped us in achieving any sale numbers. So generally what we used to do is from Monday to Thursday, we would put it as, in a centerpiece, and, we would ask our special FC, to take customer around that particular magic mirror to see, how you dress up. And on weekends, we should always used to put a digital catalog on it, because ultimately it was never assisting us in sales. But off lately, what I have realized when we've attended a few events on Metaverse and with 5G rolling in, what we understand that probably, that as Harish was mentioning, that, things are not really scaled up as of now. But what I understand with 5G, with blockchain, with Metaverse coming in, the virtual try-ons, the 3D stores, the Metaverse stores, the avatars are more realistic. Because I also experimented a few for our own company. So, those become a really realistic, and probably this is with 5G rolling in, probably we can see a lot better traction, and probably we'll be skipping a lot of things which are happening right now in technology.
Yeah, you are right, because, data is becoming cheaper, as we speak every day. And so it will be some time, as even we think from a consulting perspective, that some of these things which are, and I will probably talk about business models. I think Harish mentioned about it, rental, subscription and stuff, which are very, very much in vogue in the West. Probably those business models.
Right. From social commerce, for example, now more than 50% of our social commerce sales are coming from Instagram directly. So, it's changing, the phase changing as the video consumption is going up, with data becoming cheaper, with data being available across to every customer. So,
correct. Interesting. So, Vinay, your thoughts, how has, kind of Soch, taken on the technology thing? I think you mentioned something about, personalization and stuff, even in your initial comment. But how much of a tech spend is happening, and how do you see it being relevant? Because, it is just not about a spend. It is about, finally, you all are running businesses. And it's also about, ROI, rather than just, trying to cope up with whatever innovations are happening in the industry. So, Vinay, any thoughts on that? Vinay, I think you are on mute.
Sorry. So there's a significant amount of spend that we're looking at on the tech or digital side. The idea, however, is how can you multi-purpose, the outcome or the content that you're getting. As an example, about 5-6 years ago, we had physical lookbooks in our stores, and the sales from those products contributed about 45% of our sales, whereas there were only about 15 to 18% of our styles. And as soon as we saw that, we started looking at at digital screens in our stores. In fact, we started playing videos. It's been about 7.5 years, and we definitely saw how that made a difference. Just connecting to what other people on the panel said. That's one way in which you can actually show the texture or the fall and things like that, and that's very important in ethnic wear. Also connecting to what Devangi mentioned about your positioning and how you need to be seen as the same brand everywhere. We've been outsourcing our e-com imagery, but imagery is probably the most important thing when you're trying to position yourself, tell a story, and things like that. So we're in-housing that. Because we're in-housing it, we're also looking at least this year, we'll be looking about 35% of our products being shot in video as well. 5G is coming in, data is, like you mentioned, was cheaper. Obviously the question is 90% of your sales generally are from mobiles. So how do you get those videos either cached or streamed properly? And that's really how Netflix came in and became big, because they cracked that business model. So yes, there's a lot of spend, but we also have to remember that these are things that are also going to be present at the stores, right? So I'm not doing this just to boost my digital sales. These things are equally important in the stores. We have active LED screens in all our stores. Those are prime places to push these things. And it's not just content that's individual e-com shots, but when you're launching stories and collections and things like that, it's important to show that in the best way possible. And I think for us, that's a video.
Yeah, absolutely interesting. I think that's a very relevant point, because as omni-channel retailers, we obviously know that, there is a role of technology, people are getting more socially savvy and stuff. But if you are omni-channel, at the same time, you need to rethink as to how to keep the store relevant. Because, if the store doesn't remain relevant, then, there is a huge expenditure, whether it be around rentals, so on and so forth, that how do you reshape the store? If everything is, I don't think, everything is going to go online with markets opening and stuff, but I think you have a very relevant point. So on to you, Devangi, one point which I wanted to touch upon, and this is becoming a very interesting topic, with some saying that, I see in various forums which I address, some saying that yes, it is important, some saying we don't know whether it is important. It's the thought around personalization. I think your debate, you started with that, how do we look at each customer? Can we address their needs on social media and stuff? So some people think that, should we hyper personalize? Some people think that, there are forums where I have seen people saying that, no, if you personalize, then you probably do not show the range to the customer. You just address those queries of the customer which are very specific to them. So you don't get into the range which your brand offers and stuff. So what's your thought around hyper-personalization? Do you think that it will be a significant part of the fashion industry going tomorrow? Or you think that, yes, it is important to connect with the customer, because, hyper-personalization has its own stories also, that, when you customize, what is the cost? Is it relevant? How much do you personalize for a customer? Do you do it for cohorts, or do you do it individually and stuff? Because there are brands who do both, across the globe and stuff. So it will be interesting to hear, Devangi, your thoughts on the same.
Yeah, definitely. I think individuality is going to be very important going forward, and customers want an experience which is tailored to them. So that, I think, is a non-negotiable. They want to feel like you have tailored this entire experience just for them and their personal likings. So you do, as a brand, have to make them feel like that and give them the service and that, level of luxury, even if you're a mass market brand. I think they've come to expect that. In terms of personalization of garments, so we are very pro personalization, customization specifically. Most of our garments on the entire website, even though we have more than 100,000 garments, can be customized. So, for example, I want to add sleeves, I want to make this backless, I want to change the length, I want to, I'm short, I have big hips, many restrictions, right? Like for a wedding, I can't wear black. Can you make it navy blue? Can you change the embroidery slightly? So we try and work with the designers, and we have more than 900 designers on the platform currently, but we try and work with the designers through our customer care team and through our merchandising team to ensure that whatever the customers' requirements are, they are met. Many people, we may have a 4-week timeline, but the customer may say, I'm getting married next week. And this request has actually become much more post-pandemic because people are rushing to celebrate their special occasions. So they do have, all these urgent requests. So entertaining those, I think, is actually really important. And we try and get back to the customer and work around their requirements. I think that goes a long way in making them feel special and making them want to come back and shop from you again.
So Devangi, which brings me to a very interesting question, that one is the store, okay, one is e-commerce. Does this also mean that, your people have to go to the customer's residence? Because some brands are even trying that, that why don't I send someone to your place? You try the, maybe the swatches or the garment, we send you a few options, you try. So that's also one thing which is coming up. Is that something you think should be stretched into the hyper-personalization story, or that's taking it too far?
So in terms of the stores, we have done home shopping, especially during and immediately after the pandemic. We did home shopping in the cities where our stores are located. For e-commerce, actually 70% of our business comes from outside India. So these guys, it's not serviceable to go to their house, obviously. And these guys are very comfortable with shopping online. So it's not a request that we actually had. We've actually seen this request more coming from our store customers than our online customers. Online customers, I think, generally are very comfortable with the digital shopping experience. When it comes to store customers who have, are repeat buyers, we do definitely go that extra mile and say, yes, we will come to your house if you want to try on certain things, if you have a function tonight, for example.
Nice, absolutely great. So on to you, Harish. So we are discussing the hyper personalization story. What's your experience of what do you see in the US, and around, just not for your brand, but compete in that ecosystem and stuff? How are people trying to hyper personalize, and is it really leading to improved customer experience and an uptick in sales?
Yeah, so the brands and retailers that we work with, everybody is going in that direction, hyper-personalization, because the basic notion is that fashion is personal. One item to me can be very different than that item for you. I'll give you one example. So one of the brands that we work with had 3,000 products, unique products. They came to us, our stylist community has created multiple combination of that product, how to wear that same product. And from 3,000, they were able to make 90,000 different pieces of content. So 90,000 looks for that product. And each was so unique and different. And they were also able to, share it on the social media, Pinterest and Instagram and all that. About 45,000 impressions that they got. They increased the social reach and all that. The point here is that from 3,000 to 90,000 is a big jump. And that is because the fashion is unique and personal. Everybody has a different perspective. I'll give another example. In traditional e-commerce today, every website that you go to right now has a product-based approach. That means you search for a product, you look for a product, you buy a product, right? And when you go to the product page, there's no really context behind how to wear that product and what that product means for that particular customer, right? So we have some solutions. We are adding like how to wear sections automatically on there by combining different products from the same catalog of the brand. But the point here is that experience has to be personalized and that product has to be brought into that context. And like I said, all major brands that we work with are going in that direction. So personalization is going to be a big thing. And the most important technology is the data. So technology, like all buzzwords are there, AI, ML, and all that stuff. But what really matters is that what customer data that you know and what you have and how you're going to leverage that. Think about TikTok. TikTok or Instagram Reel, more you watch, more they know. So one of the criteria is that the watch length. If you watch the entire video, they know you like it. If you repeat that, they know you super like it. So the point here is that how to get implicit feedback from customer, their preferences, And I'm not talking about just the, purchase histories and price ranges and all that. I'm talking about the style preferences. One person may like one shoulder dress, right? Another person may not like that. One person want to show off something, one other person want to hide something. So same product can be customized in very different ways. And that's what I mean by hyper-personalization. And we are seeing that across the globe.
Okay, interesting, Harish. So Akhil, that brings me on to the next question, which is around, influencer marketing. So that's becoming a, big agenda within the fashion industry currently. And wanted you to, reflect on what are your thoughts on the same? How do you see that emerging in the Indian fashion industry? Is it becoming very important? Because that's a key element as I'm seeing in various forums, getting discussed.
Yeah, so influencer marketing is something that is imperative to fashion now. You cannot do without it, and it is, again, you could then say an extension of personalization or hyper personalization, because then you're not just talking about a celebrity, you're talking about local influencers. For example, if I have to market something during the Pujo time in Calcutta, so I'm not looking at a celebrity who's based out of Bollywood to do influencer marketing for me. So I'm taking up local girls over there, local influencers, so the customer of that particular genre understand how that product fits into them, because the body sizes, the color of the skin, the structures are very similar. So this is again an extension of how hyper personalization can work in marketing as well. So for us, for any brand, I mean, influencer marketing.
Akhil, I lost you.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are.
So I was saying, so for any fashion brand, influencer marketing has become imperative, and it's also given an advantage to access the community that was inaccessible to you, because you are there on e-commerce, because you're there digitally available, because you have point of sales. You can connect with the customer a lot more better when you get into that influencer kind of piece.
And so are you also saying that between north, east, west, south of our country, your strategy has to change with respect to influencer marketing because of the, cultural differences and stuff?
Absolutely. This is what we've been experimenting for the last 3-4 years, and this actually really worked well for us. Because, for example, you go into south of India, because I've got lots of large formats in, say, Chennai, for example. So when we do influencer marketing with them, with a local girl, with a local skin color, with local body structure, the customer connect is highly, highly different than what happens, when we do a lot of, now the marketing, I would say product personalization is very, very different. And customized marketing has also taken a bigger advantage that, because of the kind of data you have with your loyalty programs, with the kind of algorithms getting from your insights you're getting from your Instagram and social media accounts. So now we have got an advantage of, trying to, create different content from different genres of people.
Interesting. Vinay, you'd like to touch upon this, story of influencer marketing. Do you see its relevance in your brand and how it has shaped up, in the last 2 years and stuff? Any store launches where you thought that, influencer marketing played a key role in getting the target audience in the store or even at an online level?
Yeah, so we have tried it out with some store launches, but predominantly we use influencer marketing to push out a story. You have different personas, obviously, and because of the fact that we have so many categories, we want to find personalities that suit one category or the other, or one style or the other. We have stuff ranging from fairly traditional to very fusion as well. So it allows you to get personalities that then act as brand ambassadors. And sometimes the influencers with smaller follower bases are actually the ones that are more real about connecting with the product and the brand when they do their posts. So it's definitely important. I think the idea of regional influencers is very important, specifically for us, because we even do different product ranges for different regions. So an ethnic wear does make a difference. Although on the flip side, the penetration of social media itself has started to dilute that regional taste, because everyone's seeing what everyone's wearing, right? And we've seen that.
Tell me one thing, Vinay. I think, this influencer marketing thing, probably now with markets opening up, is far easier because you have store launches and stuff. But if you look at say 2020 when everything was closed and maybe only e-commerce was partly open and stuff. So how did people adapt influencer marketing? If you can throw some light on it, or is it more of an offline phenomenon?
No, it's definitely an online phenomenon. As long as there's a call to action where the consumer can either reach out to the brand or actually directly go to the product. I think influencers also bring their own styling to the product. So we just do apparel, but you have influencers that are adding accessories and bags and things like that. So it gives the product a much larger ensemble feel than just looking at the product on its own. So I think the fact that they bring their own personalities, they style it their own way and everything like that, it then allows you to speak to a larger audience, and therefore you have a larger audience interested to discover the brand, whether that's offline or online.
Absolutely. On to you, Isha. Would you like to throw some light on social selling and influencer marketing? What have you seen? What are your views on the same?
Influencer marketing is something that is today accepted by everyone, be it a startup, be it a top-notch company. I think everyone has kind of seen the benefits of influencer marketing and how it's proven to be successful in terms of not only visibility online, but also in increasing sales, right? Like Vinay just said, a lot of times micro influencers, I think in Akhil mentioned that, local influencers, which in our language, we call them as micro influencers. And, they are mainly not celebrities, but just, smaller influencers with great following, more loyal following, and they are more aspirational to the mass audience, to real people. A lot of times they relate to these people and they kind of think their feedback and their review is a lot more authentic and easy to visualize or rather accept the product. So I feel like businesses who want to kind of target that huge pool of say internet audience, for them influencer marketing is a huge area to tap. And it's not just about it's a lot more than just likes and impressions. Today there are so many tools that you can use while you're working with influencers. You can use tools which kind of give you actual data in terms of true figures of a campaign, where you can figure which geographically, which area is your product most kind of viewed, where from which area have you seen maximum amount of response in terms of which age group, which category of audience, or which lifestyle are they from. So a lot of this kind of detailed data can be extracted from an influencer marketing program that you run for a certain product launch. And I feel that kind of analytical report kind of helps you in working better in terms of where should you focus on marketing your product, which country, whether it's male, female, whatever. And in terms of social selling, I have a brand as well, apart from just celebrity styling, and I can vouch for the fact that a lot of selling for us has happened through social media, through Instagram DMs, through Facebook, and a lot of other such social media portals, where people have seen your fashion week show somewhere and then they've written to you on DM that, with a picture there, that how much is this for, we want to buy it. They could be sitting in some other country somewhere else, but they're so pro to buying from social media that there's not a 0% hesitancy in terms of paying upfront full advance for a product that you've never seen or touched physically at a store. So I feel like social selling has become so vital in terms of people. I feel people find social reviews that you see on a social media portal a lot more authentic, because it's so easy to in how to get further more information from that person versus a review that you say see on maybe an e-com site like an Amazon or something, where you don't really know whether that person who's writing is genuine or something. So I feel like social media has become a very, very, very important zone for every sort of e-com business to kind of work around with, be it via influencers, be it via following up on all their DMs that are there on all their social media pages, because you never know from where you could be making sales, from where you could be getting genuine clientele for your product. I think it's so both these segments work hand in hand in improving your sales. Is what I would say.
Absolutely great to hear from you, Isha, the thought around micro influencers and stuff. So, I think there are one or two, so we are almost on time. There are one or two, audience questions. One to Harish, one to Devangi, if you can shortly touch upon. Devangi, someone is asking a very, this is a very tricky question. Is there a negative side to influencer marketing, and is it hyped? Do you like to maybe talk for a minute on it?
Sure. I think I don't think there's a negative side. I'll just shed light upon this. So in terms of what influencers do, fashion is for everyone. And what influencers basically do is, for a customer looking at a 6-foot model who's, extra small, you don't relate to that person, right? Like, I don't know what that dress length will actually be on me. I don't even know if it'll be too tight, too loose. I have no idea. But when I see it on a person who is like me, of my body type, of my skin color, I can actually understand the garment. Secondly, there are a lot of really interesting, I think there are influencers who are overhyped, who, just like seem really salesy and pushy, where customers are seeing through it. So maybe that is, slightly on the negative side, which is why these micro influencers work exceptionally well. So, you had mentioned briefly, what was it like in the pandemic? Did influencers even work? I just want to shed light upon that. Influencers actually, we saw a huge uptick in sales during the pandemic of what influencers were wearing. And the reason for that is because there were no movies releasing. So there was actually no Bollywood fashion to aspire to. So everyone was looking upon influencers who were sitting in their house and styling their existing garments in new and unique ways. And also Netflix stars who, you felt like were your friends because they're very relatable, understandable shows. So, for example, one of the Netflix stars wore a simple kurta set, it had no work on it, nothing. And we sold like 300 of that just after she wore it. So, it's just who can a customer relate to? Another example is in the store, we had a male influencer come and style lehengas on himself, because fashion is for everyone, right? So why can't men wear lehengas? And we sold those lehengas. That video did exceptionally well because people want to understand fashion in a way that relates to them. It can't just be this mysterious, far away, like hoity-toity thing, which is very snobby. So yeah.
Good. So Harish, last question. I think this is pretty simple for you. That there are many digital fashion brands who have always been digital and suddenly get into a brick and mortar format. So, instead of offline to online, the online to offline. So there is someone asking that, is there a success route or a process which a digital brand should follow if they want to get into the brick and mortar space in the fashion?
I think, yeah. So we do have some examples that we see, like Rent the Runway is a rental service, and they have been all digital. And again, more on the styling side of it. But, they opened up a store in Vegas because that's where a lot of people go and have fun for the evening, and they can rent out the place there. So they were able to strategically, open up the stores in some places where, their customers are. But the thing is, what we have been seeing is more shift towards digital versus in-store. And because of the, various cost factors are there, ability to reach higher consumer base, like what Vinay was talking about in terms of the style, having the, multiple product come together and having combination of micro-influencer is very powerful because you can reach out to, you can increase your brand and product reach by millions overnight. The digital channels are much more prevalent right now in the industry. I'm seeing less of opening up the stores and getting into that physical experiences. But there are a few examples that I just gave it to you.
So interesting. So I will wrap up this discussion. Devangi, Harish, Vinay, Isha, Akhil, I think it has been a very absorbing, 1 hour session. I think we could not have done better justice to discussing several aspects, within this 1 hour. Aini, you want to conclude? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. So would you just like to give the concluding comments?
Sure. So thank you everyone for bringing very pertinent points to the table, the industry insights. Certainly a very engaging and interesting discussion. On behalf of ET Retail and Fashmates, I thank all of you for sparing your precious time from your busy schedule. Thank you to the audience for your active engagement. Hope you all got answers to your questions. Finally, thank you to Fashmates for partnering with us. Once again, thank you to all of you. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones and keep following etretail.com for fresh content and latest events happening. Take care and stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.